We still get about one Lakers story a week.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Oh, why not?
Well, apparently they weren't as close to getting Kawhi as was rumored. Kawhi and his uncle, Dennis Robertson, had set up 2 separate meetings, one with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka and another with Magic. And according to the story today in The Athletic, Magic thought it was wise to broadcast that Robertson had called to pick his brain about the purple and gold before free agency had even begun. That sealed the fate of the Lakers, a person involved in the process told The Athletic. I think that right there was when Dennis and Kawhi decided we can't trust the Lakers as an organization, and that was it. I think that was it for them. Now, when you look at the whole article, I think there was a little bit more that played into it than just Magic talking about the story. Now, it seems very clear that Kawhi and his camp were very upfront that we don't want leaks. We don't want what we talk about spilled to the media. And for the most part, aside from the Lakers, it was pretty quiet. We did not know when he was going to announce. We didn't know which way they were leaning.
Yeah.
We really didn't know what his feelings were towards the end of the season with the Raptors.
Clippers were the quietest team and all that, though.
They were. If you're ranking it, it was definitely the Lakers, then the Raptors, then
the Clippers.
So they played their hand perfectly when it came to that. But that's kind of already what they do. They fly under the radar to begin with. So it wasn't like they were going to all of a sudden start becoming this organization full of leaks, but that's kind of the point. Guys are not only looking for a place they want to live, that they want to raise their family, where there's a good fan base, they're going to have nice weather, they want to win, but also they don't want a dysfunctional organization while they're winning. Obviously, the best winning situation, if you're looking at right now, would have been with the Lakers. You're joining LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Of course, that's more talent than the Clippers have, even with Paul George. I mean, you can't argue that. Yeah. They have a great team, and they look like they're the favorites now because he neutralized the NBA and everyone has 2 guys instead of 3. But the dysfunction of it was clearly still obvious. And that kind of still lingered, despite the fact we weren't getting the crazy stories that we were getting during the season from the Lakers. There was no point where anyone came out together and showed a united front and showed that anything was really cleared up there.
Yeah, the Lakers, again, I always felt, we talked about this pyramid, like the Clippers pyramid was very easy. Ballmer's the owner, West and Michael Winger, and Doc. The Lakers' organizational chart was a spider web, and there was the Rambuses, and in the end, that dysfunction where there was, Jeannie wasn't talking, and Magic was, and Rob wasn't, but the Rambuses were. I think it was just, if I would be entering a company, I think Kawhi looked at it like you and I would look at a company we're earning. There's a lot of noise there. Like today, a lot of stuff ends up in the newspaper, and I don't want to be part of it.
Especially if you're not a noisy person.
Yes.
It really makes sense. So speaking of an organization that's well run, yesterday the San Antonio Spurs announced 2 new assistants that would be joining Greg Popovich's staff. One is Will Hardy. The other one is the legend Tim Duncan. In their press release announcing this move, they wrote, Duncan, a 1997 Wake Forest graduate, played 19 seasons with the Spurs before retiring in the summer of 2018. It's only fitting that after I served loyally for 19 years as Tim Duncan's assistant, that he returns the favor, said Popovich. Duncan has 5 rings, 15-time All-Star, 3 NBA Finals MVPs, and 2 NBA MVPs. Pretty qualified to be an assistant coach, especially with the San Antonio Spurs.
I never knew he wanted to be one.
No. Well, Tim Duncan, kind of like Kawhi Leonard, is a very quiet guy. Yeah. We don't really find out too much about him. We know that he is obviously a great teammate and was a part of that illustrious dynasty with the Spurs, and he's a Spur for life also. Another interesting move is R.C. Buford is moving to CEO of the Spurs, and Brian Wright is taking over as GM. The Spurs are always a sleepy team. They're always a team that we tend to just forget about. We just know they're going to be good. We never really know how good because they are a quiet organization that is very functional. That said, they did take the Nuggets to 7 games in the first round, and nobody was giving them any thought. They're going to have LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, and DeJounte Murray is coming back from his ACL injury. Their young point guard, who they really liked and was looking incredibly promising before his injury. So Spurs are something to watch, and I do think that could be possibly a grooming situation to replace Greg Popovich, because whoever fills those shoes is going to have to be someone who's going to command a great deal of respect in that organization.
Well, know they're not going to be chaotic. They're always organized.
Always. Finally, a year after being ranked number 3 on NFL Network's top 100 list, Carson Wentz has taken a little bit of a tumble, coming in at 96. Health and availability could be a huge reason for him dropping 93 spots. That pretty much would seem like the only reason, because it's not like his talent has gone anywhere. Carson Wentz worries me. I had no problem with the Eagles giving him a deal. They had to give him a deal. He's their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
He's in the MVP race. He's young. Obviously, he's the guy that you go with in that spot. Although I do think Nick Foles was kind of the best case scenario for the Eagles, and obviously it worked out very well for them. They got a Super Bowl. That said, he's one injury away from being kind of a disaster, because is their guy moving forward, and being the guy, you have to also be available. I mean, their season and their future rests in Carson Wentz's hands, literally.
Yeah. He's a, I mean, you get to these points. Look at if Jimmy G has another injury, you're trapped.
I feel much better about Carson Wentz than I do about Jimmy G, because we haven't really seen Jimmy G play.
I think Wentz is a better overall talent than Garoppolo, but Garoppolo and Wentz, Deshaun Watson's not quite in this class, but could be. One more big injury, and you're like, uh-oh. I think Deshaun, I don't feel the same with Deshaun, but Wentz and Garoppolo are one injury away from you're paying somebody a lot of money, and you're not going to get many games out of them.
Well, to me, it's more than just paying them a lot of money. I mean, they're your franchise's future for what you hope to be the next 10 years. So you have a lot leveraged on them, and that's not their fault, obviously. Injuries are no one's fault, but it's interesting what will happen with Carson Wentz.
Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The HERDLINE news.
Coming up next.